The Philadelphia Eagles have made a lot of moves to improve the linebacker room, but now it's loaded. Where does Davion Taylor fit in? What's good, beautiful people? Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Now, I have been thinking about the linebacker room when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, and they've made a lot of moves to strengthen that core. There have been two, actually three groups on the Philadelphia Eagles that have been the weakest for the past several years. That's the wide receiver room. That's now considered to be a top five wide receiver room. Next is the cornerback room, which is arguably one of the better trios, one of the better tandems between Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox in the NFL. And then the linebacker room. And mainly because we haven't invested much in the linebacker room in history. We've always gone cheap there. We've had guys like Jannard Avery, Alex Singleton there, Nigel Bradham, Michael Kendricks. We have TJ Edwards, who has pretty much stood the test of time and is the lone survivor out of all those guys I've mentioned. We've had Eric Wilson, someone who came and went and couldn't stop a nosebleed in run defense. But when you think about the way the linebacker room is constructed now, there's legit talent and legit versatility in that room. You think about, like I said, TJ Edwards, who has continued to make strides and earned himself another year on his contract last season to bring him here this year, which is a contract year for him. Then they brought in Kyzir White from the Chargers, who was arguably one of their best linebackers. He was continuing to outplay their higher draft picks, but the Chargers had to justify their draft picks, and they needed to move on from him. And Chargers fans were not happy with the departure of Kyzir White. And then we bring in Haason Reddick, a dual threat, a guy who's versatile, a guy that can line up on the edge, a guy who can also be that off-ball linebacker, someone who has had 2 years in a row of double-digit sacks. I believe he had about 23 or 24 sacks between two seasons with the Arizona Cardinals and the Carolina Panthers. And then you draft a guy like Nakobe Dean, who fell to you in the third round, who's arguably one of the best linebackers in the NFL draft. He was being compared to guys like Devin Lloyd, who with the Utah, who now is I believe with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then we had Davion Taylor, like I mentioned, who this video is about, and we have Shaun Bradley, Patrick Johnson. Also have Christian Ellis, Jacoby Stevens, guys like that. But where does Davion Taylor fit in amongst these guys who are most likely going to get starting reps over him? Now, look, Davion Taylor last season, he was making strides. His rookie year, he didn't really get that much playing time because of his inexperience, and he instinctually wasn't as developed as his counterparts in the linebacker room. But he was drafted pretty high in the third round because they saw his athletic gifts, they saw his versatility on offense, and the Philadelphia Eagles figured if they could hone that athleticism, if they can coach him up and carve out his football instincts, he could be one of the better linebackers on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, because you add Kyzir White, Haason Reddick, and Nakobe Dean, that kind of clogs up the pipe for Davion Taylor. Where does he fit in? How can he make a name for himself with guys that talented being ahead of him? Now, at the end of the day, guys are going to have to compete, and the cream will rise to the top. But I'm really excited to see where this linebacker competition goes, because these guys are only going to make each other better. And I believe that Davion Taylor is going to learn a lot from a guy like Nakobe Dean, who actually is more polished instinctually, but Davion Taylor may have better measurables in terms of size. But I think they're both on the same plane as far as athleticism. I just think Nakobe is a bit sharper and more polished instinctually. If Davion Taylor can become more polished instinctually, if he can learn from TJ Edwards, Kyzir White, Haason Reddick, Nakobe Dean, this should be big for everyone. I think everyone's going to learn something from each and every one. Haason Reddick is that bona fide pass rusher. Kyzir White is that linebacker who's versatile, has that speed, can run sideline to sideline, a former safety who knows how to drop back in coverage as well, and is pretty physical in run defense. Someone who isn't really the biggest linebacker, but he plays above his size, like a Nakobe Dean, someone who plays above their size. But Davion Taylor, Shaun Bradley as well. Where do those guys fit in? Because we drafted those guys to not just be special teamers. I know Shaun Bradley is one of our better special teamers, but we drafted those guys to see if they had any sort of rotational upside in the linebacker room. And right now, the linebacker room is loaded, and I'm really excited about it because I'd rather have too much talent rather than not enough talent. And that's pretty much where it stands with me. I want you guys to comment below. and tell me what you guys think about Davion Taylor's situation. Because again, he started to come alive as the season progressed. Some of his best games with the Philadelphia Eagles, his best game as a Philadelphia Eagle, in my opinion, was that Denver Broncos game where he forced a fumble and Darius Slay was able to take it back to the house. You saw Davion Taylor making these strides instinctually as a player, being better in pass coverage. He wasn't the best by any stretch of the imagination. T.J. Edwards was significantly better than him, but Davion Taylor was making strides, especially in run defense. He had a propensity to set the edge, and he was reading the gaps pretty well. And we got better in run defense when Davion Taylor and T.J. Edwards got plugged in together as the combo, rather than Alex Singleton and Eric Wilson. And Alex Singleton became a rotational piece, and Davion Taylor took those snaps from him. It's just unfortunate that Davion got hurt, but all Davion has to do right now is focus on staying healthy and continuing learning, because he's picking it up. And it's going to be the first time in his football career that he has the same defensive playbook, the same defensive coordinator, the same defensive leadership ever. This is going to be the first time he's had it in his career. So a lot of guys are really going to benefit from having the same coaching staff for 2 years in a row. Believe it or not, a lot of guys haven't had the same coaching staff for multiple years in a row. Haason Reddick hasn't had the same coaching staff for more than 1 or 2 years in a row since he's been with the Cardinals. They're going to the Panthers and now Philadelphia. Davion Taylor, same thing. T.J. Edwards, same thing. So again, we're going to see how this stuff pans out. I'm really excited to see where the linebacker room goes. So much competition is involved. And look, you guys, like I said, better to have too much talent than not enough talent. Comment below. Tell me what you guys think. Can Davion Taylor position himself to be a legit rotational piece, maybe in different schemes or formations? You never know. Comment below. Tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe as well. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II from Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. One love, stay humble, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay hungry.